The park is 33,000 acres, and it's kind of a long, skinny park. So it goes all the way from the northern end is Rockside Road in Cleveland, all the way down to Bath Road in Akron. So in between, the spine of the park is really the Cuyahoga River and the Ohio and Erie Canal towpath trail, which one can travel by bicycle or foot or car on Riverview Road the entire length of the park.
We're actually what they call an urban park. This particular part of Ohio is a day's drive of 60% of the population of the United States. So we get a lot of local folks, and they come from Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, Summit County, and they come every day. The Countryside Initiative, which was spawned by a previous superintendent of the National Park Service who had taken a sabbatical in Europe. And in Europe, a lot of parklands are actually privately owned farms that they work cooperatively with their national park system to manage the landscapes, if you will. And he really liked that idea. And he thought, well, what if we could do that here in Cuyahoga Valley? The National Park Service actually owns the land here. And so the idea would be to lease the land to farmers so that they can farm on the properties and keep them managed and alive. We have about 14 rehabilitated properties, and we have 11 farms in the program. So the idea was you lease the farms to the farmers. It gives them access to land without a lot of capital investment. So they gave them a 60-year lease, and that gives them a sense of ownership.
After owning his own restaurant and catering company for many years, Chef Ben Biebenroth decided to lease a farm, now known as Spice Acres, to grow ingredients on a much larger scale.
The evolution of our farming practices from going from basically taking care of 3/4 of an acre in the burbs to 13 acres in the national park has come with a lot of oversight and a lot of planning. The variety of crops that we grow on Spice Acres are leafy greens in the early spring to a lot of cut flowers for centerpieces at the restaurant. We have a pretty healthy microgreen production in the high tunnel as well, and a lot of honey production now. So last year we had 9 hives. This year, by the end of the year, we'll have 25 hives. This location has always been desirable to us, just being that it's in the national park. The house that we live in and the barn are on the National Register of Historic Properties.
The farms in the Countryside Initiative are required to farm using sustainable farm management. So that could mean cover cropping, water conservation, things like drip irrigation or low water farming, dry farming. The farmers have an expectation of engaging with the visitors, whether that's through their farm stand or CSA pickups, if they do agritourism activities, in some way participating with the park's visitor.
Being relatively new to agriculture and then extremely new to doing it in a national park comes with a pretty steep learning curve. First, you have to weed out, so to speak, all of the cool things that you think you want to do and get back to practicality. Agriculture has such a high failure rate, so you've got to get the daydreams out of the picture and become more predictable and consistent and efficient with your actions. What makes our farm unique here is the biodiversity. We're rotating chickens on our pastures and then using that for vegetable production 2 years later. It's not just about what's good for the arugula or what's good for the spinach. It's also about what's good for the river that's right down the ravine from us. Having our family on the farm is instrumental to positive social change, which is our mission. The opportunity to live in the national park and farm in the national park, it was a lifestyle choice. We're not farming for today's crops. We're not farming for tomorrow's profits. We're farming for the benefit of the land for our children to have an agricultural lifestyle on these properties.